So, welcome back to another stream of me sitting here talking about things that are incredibly relevant. But yeah, with this being said, see you after the intro. The amazing intro. And it is pretty sensible for me to talk over the intro, since there is actually some sound, but through editing, you're probably not going to be able to hear it, especially when I'm speaking. Anyway, I'm fairly tired, and I should actually try as good as I can to get a little tiny bit more sleep in today compared to the previous 3 weeks or something. Anyway, this being said, let's actually see whether we can find something amazing on the Stoicism subreddit. The same thing as yesterday. Quite. I know, but still, I thought that... Why? I do remember something. I thought that it was pretty interesting and also pretty useful in the sense of, it didn't took me that much time or any preparation and whatnot, and still I was able to share some things and I was able to talk about some things that were quite relevant. So yeah, maybe this is also like a false concept. Oh, I see. Let's do it like this. Stoicism. I think that I'm gonna need glasses. And not that long of a time, or not that much. Anyway, you know what I mean. Probably gonna need some glasses relatively soon in the recent future. Or near future. Recent future would be a tiny bit strange. Anyway, much suffering is caused and perpetuated by only a few reoccurring themes in our lives. Why? You can't actually see this. This is a tiny bit of a pity. There we go. There you see, but why is it as small as it is? Well, it is what it is. Many people suffer multiple times under the same affliction. From Letters from a Stoic by Seneca, letter 20, I don't know, page 77. Penguin Classic version, which is in brackets, and I think it is not called brackets, but I don't care, you know what I mean. Socrates, and this is a quote by the way, Socrates, they will tell you, had the 30 tyrants standing over him, yet they could not break his spirit. What differences thus it make how many masters a man has. Slavery is only one, and yet the person who refuses to let the thought of it affect him is a free man, no matter how great the swarm of masters around him. Whether it be poverty, loneliness, rage, induced outbursts, sexual gratification, greed, work, or college, the reoccurring nature of this situation represents itself as a great deal of instances rather than its single overarching umbrella of control. If 100 people came to you with negativity and ill will, I see. They are nothing more than one theme. If you suffer 100 times losing control of your impulses, it is only one precursor. You must cut the head of the snake. As it is also with the case. I'm very sorry. My talking game today is not the best. But it is the exact same thing when it comes to problems of any kind. When you're having a certain problem, then it really does make sense to think about the root cause, to think about the very, basically root of the whole problem and deal with it and cut that out and, change it or whatever you have to do something about that. Most often, this is kind of also my biggest critique on Western medicine. We are just trying to cure the symptoms but what's the real root cause is, what it is really about, what's the real problem in the real end is apparently does not really matter. At least this is kind of a view that I am having and I'm seeing compared to Eastern medicine, especially traditional Chinese medicine, so TCM, that really does focus on the root cause and really does focus on what one can do to make sure that this problem is not gonna, or the symptoms in the end then, that they're never ever gonna be there again. It's not just trying to kind of be able to deal with them through drugs, yada yada yada, but it is rather about making sure that they will never ever be there again, by just thinking about the root cause. See how tragedies are made when common things happen to silly men. Epictetus Discourses. I should read it. I started reading Epictetus' Discourses, and as far as I remember, I didn't necessarily like the translation, and it wasn't grabbing me that much. And I also think that I have started it on the podcast, and I do still also remember that there are certain things I haven't finished yet. I do not know the books at this point. I could look it up, but anyway. Okay, I'm not understanding this. What are the few reoccurring themes stated in the title? What is the single affliction that makes me suffer multiple times? I'm genuinely curious. The single affliction is the one you do unto yourself, letting all the noise and suffering affect you unduly. Okay, thank you. That makes sense. Well, yes, it really does. What should I say? What could I say? I mean, yes, most often when something is bad and something is bothering you, it is due to ourselves, period. This is what it is, most of the pain, most of the harm, most of the negativity that we're feeling and seeing and noticing in life is due to us. And well, it is also due to our worldview, the way we live our life essentially as well. And of course, a lot of it is planning. And you can plan for things just going quite well. And you could also just theoretically plan for things just, going the complete opposite, just really going shit. But in the end, it is up to us, and in the end, it is due to us as well, And this is kind of partly, I guess, just because I'm thinking about it. A lot of people being like, okay, social media is so bad. We should just cut it out. We should not have social media. Social media should be forbidden because it is harming us. It's not good for our mental health, and so on and so forth. And of course, yes, there are there is some data that really does state that yes, this is the case. Yes, it's not good for us. Yes, overall, just mental health issues have increased. With social media, I guess. I don't know if there's data on that, but essentially there is data on, it affecting, especially I'd say younger people, but in the end, quite all of us in a negative way. But, well, how should I say? Like, something that I always rely on as a fact or as an option maybe is making sure that you're able to deal with these mediums and these things and these medias that you may probably not be able to ditch, unless of course you just delete all your social media. But of course this is also correlated to certain downsides. Upside being maybe you're feeling better about yourself and whatnot, but on the other hand you might miss important things, birthdays, for example. By the way, I should be fine. I do just remember, by the way, I should be fine, should be okay, I guess. I think it is useful to be able to use social media in a way that is serving you, and really just, trying to create that framework for yourself, because you can probably then translate that into other parts of your life as well, which is the whole goal that I'm seeing there, and also quite the opportunity that I'm seeing there. Okay, I can learn how to use social media so that it is not fucking with me, that I do not feel bad about myself, I do not have FOMO and whatnot, so that this is also not going to happen in real life. And maybe, it's just up to debate now, maybe it is also easier than to do these things in real life, because on social media may be more difficult, which I don't really know if I think that way. It's just an example of how one could basically think, just to give you something to think about as well. Anyway, this is like it's kind of essentially the same thing. Like most of the bad things and most of the good things is what we do to us and what we are allowing and how we deal with things. So in the real end, it is due to us and or because of us why we feel X, Y, or Z, or whatever. And yes, period. I am at a dead end in Stoicism. Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. Read this quote Epictetus today, and it really struck a chord. We all have problems, but our anxiety is usually caused by speculating about how these problems may pan out. And, this is essentially also like why regret does not make any sense, to be honest. Like, of course, you might have done things that you dislike now, but also really often we do things because we think that they are right and we think that they are good. Often we do so. Of course, often we also know by doing whatever the fuck we're doing at this point in time that it is just not good for us and that it is a fucking bad idea. But anyway, still, then regretting it, which is a state of mind that, I think it is not productive. That's for sure not the case. Productive in a way of, you can't do anything about it anyway, so why are you thinking about it? Secondly, it is what it is, which is kind of tied to the first one, but it's also not productive in a way that you're just feeling bad about yourself, feeling bad about whatever you did, whatever you maybe also didn't do, and so on and so forth. And so in the end, it is not productive in any way, so why think in that way? But of course, this is a thought pattern. This is a thought in and of itself that you're probably going to be able to apply to various different things in life as well. And this is quite like saying, okay, just be happy. Okay, we all know that, we understand it, we understand the concept and whatnot, but actually applying it is the issue. Applying it is like the real problem there. And a lot of things are just automated. Things are just scripted in our heads, scripted in our, maybe hearts as well, if you want to be a bit more philosophical. And therefore, how should I say? Therefore, try, I guess, to think about certain emotions and certain thought patterns that you're having and that are reoccurring, and think about whether they serve you or they don't. Because really often we can see that they just really do not serve us in any way. I have recently started practicing Stoicism, and I'm kind of at that end. Here's the deal. The key thing in Stoicism is to focus on your virtue and justice, because unlike your body, health, etc., fortunate can't take that away from you. But when I think about it, But when I think about it, it can. You can become mentally ill and you lose your sense of virtue and justice. So what is the point in focusing most of your energy on the one thing Stoics thought fortune couldn't take away, but actually can take away? You can become mentally ill and lose your sense of virtue and justice. Well, this is a really good point and difficult point. And but this once again gets one into a space of, okay, I am mentally ill, so I cannot do anything about that. This is just what this does to me, and it is what it is, This is just now what is the case. I can do anything about it, and this is just making me do X, Y, and Z. And I don't like that space. I really actually dislike that space. Maybe even, well, hate. Hate is a big word. Maybe to some degree I also hate that, because I feel that it's just taking away a lot of power that I have. And we have a lot of power, period. We can do so much. We can hurt so much. We can hurt so many people. We can just really be monsters. It is insane. And well, I know Jordan Peterson likes to talk about that, but I totally agree with that. Like, you can indeed destroy a ton of things, and mentally, physically, whatever it may be. Anyway, I don't like spaces in which you just think that you can't do anything about whatever is happening, because in the real end you can. It's the exact same thing with social media. There is social media. This is making me feel bad, so I am bad now, or feeling bad now. Period. It's just not the case. You can do something about that. You could try to deal with social media in a different way. You could just cut it out and whatnot. And well, of course, now we're talking about an illness, and when you're breaking your foot, it's also due to that. But one could also argue, like, okay, what happened before? Why did it get into that space or into that place? But no one can take away your virtue and justice. More or less, a problem that I may see coming more is what did I want to say? Energy on one thing to well, if you're mentally ill, or if your worldview is distorted, then well, it is still your virtues and is still your justice. But obviously, this is why they have written down certain rules and certain guidelines and certain things, so that you can rearrange things again if things go out of hand, quite, and it just is gonna be the exact same thing with mental illnesses as well, like, period, I guess. Well, anyway, today's talking game is actually really shitty. I'm tremendously sorry for that, but I just actually want to have one thing that I do not have to be too philosophical about now, just to get to hit a point home, I guess. Hodgkin's lymphoma. I have officially been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is essentially cancer of the lymphatic system, and it is a fucked up thing. It has a great treatment and survival rate. I'm optimistic I'll survive, but I'm trying to truly brace myself for how awful this is gonna be for me. Like, these are certain points in life one well, unfortunately can encounter and still can encounter at this point of time. But saying like, okay, just use stoicism, just use philosophy to get around that, it is really, it's dumb. It really is. These are situations that are truly horrifying. Of course, one could also say, people that have been in war and telling them, just be fine, or some other shit, some other shit that might have actually been said in these days and whatnot. Like, it's not too good of advice. And when it comes to such things, I do always recommend therapy, period. It's just, yeah, period. Get therapy, talk to somebody. If you do have the means to do so, of course, it's expensive. In a lot of places, it unfortunately still is expensive, and a lot of government funds just do not exist, and there's also not a lot of support you can get from the government. Also, in Europe, or at least in Austria, this is the case. Unfortunately, I just do not really get it, but it is what it is. To some degree, like, well, can I understand it? From a governmental perspective on, maybe yes. Financial perspective on, maybe yes. Since, it is money, I guess. Quite some money that the state or the government or whatever would have to pay. But anyway. Yes. Practicing stoicism is in many ways a good idea. Nothing to say about that, but these are some extreme examples. These are some situations that I do truly and dearly hope nobody gets in or into, and try to be positive. Doing things and trying to be positive, and you can't just do more than that, fucking period. What is the Stoic view of free will? No, I'm not gonna get in there. The best translation for this course is vaccine mandates. Today, vaccine passes essentially came into force here in New Zealand. E.g., you need to show proof of vaccination before going into most businesses. I am fully vaccinated, however, I do not generally agree with the mandates being applied. I get the arguments from them. However, my gut feel is that they are overly authoritarian, okay, and segregate society unnecessary. Even though I'm fully vaccinated, I made the decision to boycott the vaccine passes and make a stand for the philosophical reasons mentioned above. That didn't last long. I got denied getting my morning coffee and caved into getting the pass. I felt like a social outcast if I didn't conform. From a Stoic perspective, this was not virtuous as I caved, and it seemed like a cowardly decision to get the pass based on my own viewpoints. The COVID environment is really a great opportunity to test our own virtues in the real world. Time for some reflection and hopefully show some courage next time. Well, the thing about mandates is that we cannot control it. If you have to do something just because of higher forces, i.e. government, that's then actually quite it. Maybe also your boss to some degree, depends though, and anyway. You cannot do anything about it. So I guess actually the most unstoic thing would be going against it and trying to be against it. You can, you can be against it, and you can kind of just ignore this rule and whatnot, but there's going to be certain downsides. There's going to be certain penalties you're going to face. And I do understand the whole mandate thing. I am also not the biggest fan of that. When you're just forcing people to do something, which is, also based just on principle, like, yes, period. On the other hand, if it helps and if it is proven to help, then from time to time we just also have to make decisions for other people, which is also, actually maybe very often the case also in businesses. Like the boss makes a decision and you just have to do it. And sometimes it's been a good decision and you may be actually profiting from it, but sometimes it may also be a bad decision. And I think pretty rarely there's going to be some negative effects that you as an employee gonna feel unless you get laid off just because of some dumb decisions. Most often financial wise, I'd assume. But anyway, things that we can control and things that we can't control, and being able to do you see distinct them? I don't know. Anyway, just don't think about these things. With this being said, it is fucking 8:30 p.m. Just for context. But I'm gonna see you the next time. So, bye bye.